Let's get one thing straight. When I was a kid at the time this film was made, the name of the character was generally pronounced Conan, not Conan. So for this review, I will be saying Conan the Barbarian. And if anyone has a problem with it,
then the hell with you.
And in the darkness of chaos.
What's not quite right with Conan the Barbarian? When his father is talking, watch the pattern of the clouds behind him. They used the same clip over and over again.
Fire and wind struck down these giants, and they threw their bodies into the waters. And we who found it are just men, not gods. No one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts.
Another not quite right? When Conan is fighting in the pit and smashes a guy's body against the wall, the paint cracks and falls off the prop rocks.
This is good, but what is best in life?
The open steppe, fleet horse, falcons at your wrist, and the wind in your hair.
Wrong! Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. That is good.
What else is not quite right? When Conan emerges from the crypt and cuts his leg irons, a film set crew member's hand can be seen reaching up to move the chain. Spin it back and zoom in. Side note, anyone who was into the Conan comics and stories back in the 70s and early 80s may have noticed some similarities between Conan, freeze it right there, and another popular hero figure in the 80s, He-Man. Let's take this to the construct, because you gotta hear how this goes down. The long and short of it is, Mattel struck a licensing deal with Conan Properties Incorporated to put out a line of Conan toys around the time the movie came out. Then in January of 1982, Mattel got cold feet on the deal when they saw that the movie was R-rated. The demographics they were targeting wouldn't be able to see the movie, and there was no way they could market an action figure for children based on a movie that had brutal killings and nudity. Literally a month after backing out, Mattel launched the He-Man line.
Who's the big guy with the muscles?
He's He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Skeletor is his enemy.
Here's He-Man, Skeletor, and Castle Grayskull. You have to put the castle together.
You're doomed, He-Man.
Oh yeah? Watch this action, Dad. Now I have the power.
He-Man and Skeletor each sold separately. Castle Grayskull also sold separately from the Masters of the Universe collection from Mattel.
Of course, CPI sued the toy maker, citing copyright infringement, unfair competition, breach of contract, and fraud, contending that He-Man is simply Conan disguised with a blonde wig. Mattel countersued in a court battle that lasted for over a decade, and the courts sided with them. Among other reasons, the court said, while strong, Conan is probably no better muscled than bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger, who played Conan in the film Conan the Barbarian. Indeed, the president of CPI explicitly confirmed that comparison. Schwarzenegger's extraordinarily muscled body fit exactly the current Conan image of Frazetta and Marvel. In 1977, shortly after he won the Mr. Olympia title, Schwarzenegger's chest measured 57 inches, and his calves measured 20 inches. A 6'2" He-Man, in contrast, would have calves measuring 29 inches, 31% larger than Schwarzenegger's, and a chest measuring 71 inches, 20% larger than Schwarzenegger's. Distinct differences exist with respect to the neck structures and hairstyles, and to a lesser extent, with respect to the overall craftsmanship. Yes, they geeked out that much. On that issue, the court concluded, The district court reasonably found that the only parts of the dolls' bodies that constitute the protectable expression of an idea, the particular form of muscle development, were not substantially similar. This court has read the Conan comics and examined the He-Man doll. The protected elements of Conan and He-Man are not substantially similar, and no reasonable trier of fact could conclude otherwise. But we digress with this. Close the construct and let's get back to the review. What's in QR here? Bad camera angles and fight choreography. Slow it down on the shots. During the orgy battle, you can clearly see Conan's hits miss by a mile, and the stuntman is seen pulling a cord to operate the visible blood pack under his clothes, and the next thug obviously splashes blood on himself.
Steel isn't strong, boy. Flesh is stronger. Look around you. There, on the rocks. That beautiful girl. Come to me, my child. That is strength, boy. That is power. The strength and power of flesh. What is steel compared to the hand that wields it? Look at the strength of your body, the desire in your heart. I gave you this. Such a waste. Contemplate this on the tree of woe. Crucify him.
And my own daughter has fallen under this Thulsa-Doom's spell. Is there a dagger such as this in her hand for me?
Observation. Conan the Barbarian was written and directed by John Milius, who also co-wrote the film Apocalypse Now, but a number of elements in Conan are parallel to Apocalypse Now. Bring up two screens, particularly the end sequence, but throughout both movies, we watch a troubled young man get sent on a mission.
As we speak, my daughter travels east to Thulsa-Doom and his mountain of power. She is to be his.
Steal my daughter back. Take all you can carry.
Your mission is to proceed up the Nung River in a Navy patrol boat. Pick up Colonel Kurtz's path at New Mung Ba. Follow it, learn what you can along the way. When you find the colonel, infiltrate his team by whatever means available, and terminate the colonel's command.
Terminate the colonel.
That takes him to a compound ruled by a cult leader. Thulsa-Doom and Colonel Kurtz are both charismatic rulers whose hold on their followers is absolute. Both Conan and Willard were captured during their mission. They both slay their targets with bladed weapons. And in the end, they both walk away from the strongholds. You know, it really does feel like filmmakers make the same movie over and over again. Now back to the review. Conan dies, and Valeria threatens the wizard.
Sometime soon, perhaps tonight, they'll try to take him. And if they succeed...
If they succeed, you'll follow.
Then she fights off ghosts to literally bring Conan back from the dead.
All the gods, they cannot sever us. If I were dead and you still fighting for life, I'd come back from the darkness, back from the pit of hell, to fight at your side.
But when Valeria is killed, even though the same wizard that helped bring back Conan is still there, they just burn her body up. That's not quite right. That's just fucked up.
Why do you cry?
He is Conan, Barbarian. He won't cry. So I cry for him.
But the big not quite right is that this story is called Conan the Barbarian in the first place. Robert E. Howard created both the characters Conan and Kull the Conqueror. Kull the Conqueror, created in 1929, was the less popular precursor to Conan, who was created in the early 30s. Howard wrote 12 short stories about Kull. However, he only managed to sell 3 of them to his publisher. Conan was conceived as a replacement character. In fact, the Barbarian's first published appearance, The Phoenix on the Sword, was a story that was rewritten from a rejected Kull story that was titled, By This Axe I Rule. That story would be published as a comic years later. Director John Milius reworked many elements from Kull's story into the movie. Conan was never a slave or a gladiator in any story written by Howard. Kull, on the other hand, was exiled from his homeland, was a slave, then a gladiator, before usurping a throne. The main element in the movie that came from Conan in Howard's stories and the subsequent comics was a recurring villain who was a powerful cult figure named Tot-Amun. But instead of using that name, Milius took the name of Kull's foe, Thulsa Doom. This movie is Conan the Barbarian, pretty much in name only.
Warrior. Thief. Gladiator. Conqueror. Conan.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's big Hollywood break was a movie that was designed to be as thought-provoking as it was epic in scale. But as grandiose as the movie was, critics were split with Conan the Barbarian. The film was particularly condemned for its violent scenes or its meandering plot that ran a little over 2 hours. Some critics chided Schwarzenegger's acting in his first role, while others felt it was perfect casting with the heavy Austrian accent working for the character. Sandahl Bergman, who played Valeria, was primarily a dancer, and this was her first action, non-dancing role. And because a stunt person her size couldn't be found, she had to do all of her own stunts. She was nominated for a Golden Globe for her efforts in 1983. She garnered the last award for that category as it was discontinued after that year. A big component of the film was the completely underrated soundtrack by film composer Basil Palladores.
Conan, however, had some very serious requirements in that you're dealing with prehistory. John always envisioned this thing taking place 10,000 years before recorded history. So what does that mean musically? So we explored the concepts of, we'll use antique instruments. But then we realized that isn't even far enough back. Medieval is, fairly modern compared to Conan. He knew he wanted it to be operatic. There was no question in his mind that because there was so little dialogue, that the music really had to carry a lot of the story.
Even though at the time critical response was tepid, audience response was much better, and the movie debuted in the top spot at the box office. Conan the Barbarian still ranks among the most commercially successful comic book and pulp adaptations of the 80s.
What outrageousness! What arrogance! I salute you. Conan the Barbarian.
If you agree with this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if I missed an observation, let me know in the comments below. And if you would like to support the channel and videos, feel free to donate through PayPal or Cash App. And don't forget to pick up some cool NQR gear. All the links are listed in the description below. And thanks for watching.